Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Now in today's episode, you see we've got a big old chonker of a Windows XP tablet to take a look at. This right here is the DynaVox Vmax, and I gotta give a huge thank you to a couple viewers of the channel for sending this as well as a few other things out to me. Dan from the Flight Simulation Museum YouTube channel and his friend Ryan. They also sent me this really cool 3D printed clippy desk toy thing that I think we're gonna make a permanent part of the set. What do you guys think? I think it looks pretty freaking cool. And they also sent me another touchscreen computer that I'll be doing a video on in the coming weeks or so. But today we're going to focus on this thing because this is really intriguing to me. When they first sent me photos, I thought this was like some sort of industrial machine just because of how big and bulky that it is. I mean, this thing is pretty freaking massive. But it turns out this is actually another one of those speech generation devices, very similar to the Lingraphica Alltalk that we did a video on not too long ago. But unlike that Lingraphica machine, which was a modified MacBook with a touchscreen added to it, this thing right here appears to be just its own thing. This wasn't like a modified laptop, at least as far as I can tell. We are going to take this apart momentarily here to explore the internals, though. This was launched back in January of 2007. There were actually two models, the DynaVox V and the Vmax. The V is just the smaller variant. It had an 8.4-inch screen. This thing has a 12.1-inch screen. And they came in a variety of colors. You had silver, pink, blue, green, and black. This, of course, is the pink variant. Now, what about pricing? Well, like most of these accessibility devices that I've seen, these things were incredibly expensive. The DynaVox V, the smaller one, started at $7,820, and the Vmax here, $8,420. So yeah, you were definitely going to be paying a pretty penny for these things, though ideally you would be going through your medical insurance to have them cover most of the cost. Because, I mean, paying for one of these things out of pocket would be just nuts and out of reach for 99% of people, and you know, it just sucks that these companies would charge this much for what is effectively a custom-built computer with some special software on it. I know there's costs with like research and development and developing the software and dealing with health insurance companies, but it's still ridiculous. And yeah, so you probably weren't going to be getting one of these things unless you could go through your insurance or if you went through the rental program they had. But either way, if you got one of these things, you would have received the DynaVox itself. I mean, duh. All the boring stuff like the power adapter, the quick start guide, the 1-year warranty, and the software CDs. You also got a USB keyboard, which is really useful because you can't really type on this thing without it. I'll demonstrate that in a moment. That keyboard actually had a USB hub for plugging in the included USB mouse. You also had a USB flash drive, 1 GB in size, this strap right here for carrying it around, and a stylus, which we don't appear to have. Now, there were two configurations for this machine. You had the dedicated configuration, which was basically just meant to run the communication software itself. I assume it did this through a like limited Windows user account that couldn't access any other applications, very similar to how the Lingraphica Alltalk we took a look at was configured. Because all this software is Windows based, so you know, you have to have Windows installed to run it. But there was also the standard configuration, which is how this machine is configured, where it basically acts as just a regular old XP system with a touchscreen, of course, that you can do whatever you want with it, and it just also has the speech software installed as well. Spec-wise, both the V and the Vmax had pretty much identical hardware. You had an Intel Celeron M clocked at 800 MHz, 256 megabytes of RAM, and a 60 gig hard drive. The RAM you could upgrade to 1 GB apparently. The display in both models had a maximum resolution of 800 by 600, but the Vmax here, you had an upgrade option that you could pay to get a 1024 by 768 screen for $130 extra. And for some reason, if you decided to do that after you already bought the device, like if you sent it back to them to have them upgrade it, it would cost you $705. Don't ask me why, absolutely ridiculous. But hey, at least language swaps were free. So yeah, that's a little brief tour for you, but before we power this thing on and take a look at the software, we're going to take a look at the hardware and the I/O and everything and try and take this thing apart and see what lies inside. So most of your I/O is on the left side here. You got a pretty good amount, and also you've got a CF card slot on the other side, so you could pop in one of those if you so desired. So some nice expansion options. You also have up here your power button, your indicator lights. You've got some fans back here for cooling, and if we flip it over to the back, you have this stand, which could be locked into a few different places for changing the viewing angle and everything. And underneath the stand is where you access the battery compartment by unscrewing these two locks here. And we're going to do that to start the disassembly process. But, you know, because of how specialized of a use case this device had, there aren't any, like, disassembly guides online for the proper way to do this. So we're just going to have to wing it. So we're going to begin by just unscrewing these two locks here. And we'll remove the battery, so it just comes up just like that. And let's see how this comes out. I think, is this a tab right here? I think it is. So we'll just pull up on that. And this is a lithium-ion battery pack. It's got one of these charge indicator testers here that you see. It just is completely stone dead, not surprising at all. And underneath that, we have our Windows XP Home Edition product key sticker. And this is the really interesting thing about these devices is, despite the fact that they have touchscreens, for some reason they didn't put Windows XP Tablet PC Edition on them. You had a choice between XP Home and XP Professional. So that's why, you know, typing on this thing without a physical keyboard is not really ideal, because the only thing you can use is Windows XP's on-screen keyboard, which works, but the tablet PC input panel works better for a touchscreen because it was made for a touchscreen, and it's why it's really bizarre that they didn't just put Tablet PC Edition on here. It could have been a cost-cutting measure, which is ridiculous for how much these things cost. It could have been maybe there was some sort of restriction with having that on, you know, a device that's like used for healthcare purposes. I don't know. But whatever the reason is, you don't have it. So yeah, that kind of sucks. So we're going to continue the disassembly and swap over to a Phillips bit here to remove these two screws. And now it looks like we've got these little fancy screws down here on all of the corners that we need to remove. And I'm going to see, is this a Torx bit? That's what it looks like. All right, well, we've got the 4 corner screws removed. What do you think we do now? Oh, well, look at that. There's a bunch of more screws on the fan covering here. And there we go. So, oh, these are the speakers as well. Okay, so the speakers and the fans are in here. And yeah, we can start to see right inside of this thing. So we'll go ahead and just reach in here and disconnect these cables. So that comes off. Oh, and there are some screws on the stand here. And that just comes right off. Looks like these plastic pieces come off, and then we can take the stand off. And, oh, there we go. Check that out. It just starts to lift right up. So, let's remove this and do this very carefully, because there is still going to be the connection for the display that we do not want to break. So there's this one connection here that is removable. And we have one of these ribbon connectors as well that we just got to slowly work out. And there we go. And it looks like this is an NEC LCD. There's the model number right there. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and set this aside because I do want to take a look at the actual, you know, computer hardware here. And yeah, it looks to be pretty compact. So we've got a 2.5-inch hard drive. This is an 80 gigabyte drive. This XP Home burn-in test 1 gigabyte sticker was kind of throwing me off. That's interesting. But yeah, it's an 80 gigabyte drive, and it looks like it was manufactured the 28th of February 2009. But it looks like the RAM and the processor is going to be on the other side of this board here. And there is the hard drive removed. Undo that connector. And we also have the battery connector there. And now we should be able to lift this entire board up out of the case. We'll set that aside. 2007 DynaVox technology. So this right here appears to be a custom-made motherboard just for this device. Now you can see on the top of this metal plate there is one more screw there. So you have to actually lift this board off of the main board, and we'll go ahead and unscrew what I believe is the final screw. And right here, we've got the brains of this entire operation. So right up here is your 800 megahertz Celeron. You've got what I believe, from what I was able to gather from this tiny little part number on this thing, is the graphics and memory controller. And then right here, you have your single 1 gigabyte stick of RAM, which was upgraded from the base 256 megabyte configuration. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, that is everything, you know, that you would find inside of the DynaVox Vmax touchscreen computer. So let's go ahead and put this thing back together, and we'll take a look at the included software. Alright, it's a little while later. We've got the machine put back together, and we're here on the Windows XP desktop. And like I said, you can totally just go around with your finger and touch the screen just fine, but I do have a Nintendo DS stylus actually right here for just getting those more precise clicks. And also, like I mentioned, with the fact that this doesn't run Windows XP Tablet PC Edition, your only way of interacting with it keyboard-wise is using the built-in on-screen keyboard that comes with XP, which you can't actually resize. I was wondering, I didn't think you could resize the window to make it larger, and it turns out, unless you can do it like from down here, which it doesn't look like you can. So yeah, unless we can go in here to settings maybe. We can change font maybe. Can we make this larger? Does that do anything? Okay, that makes the keys larger. Maybe we can if we increase this to some ridiculous size. No, it still stays the same size. Okay, so yeah, you are just kind of stuck with this, which, you know, not that this is terrible. I mean, this will work. You can totally just go around and use it to type stuff. But it seems to me like you weren't really going to be doing a lot of typing on this, especially from within the Series 5 software, which is the main interface for the you know, speech generation functionality that this computer was, you know, designed to do. So we're going to go ahead and just start that. And that's not enter, that's enter. And we'll just minimize the on-screen keyboard for now. I actually thought that this might have been a piece of Lingraphica software because that icon looked very similar to Lingraphica's logo, but this is entirely different. But very similarly to the Lingraphica software, you've just got a bunch of tiles that when you tap them, they will say various things. So Mom. We can tap Mom, Dad, Look, you know. You can go back here, and they got a bunch of folders here. This could be customized to your liking. And let's see what these buttons up here do. So this, I assume, is going to take you, okay, to the master page. It's to be used by the facilitator to navigate to chosen communications page. To model independent navigation for the communicator, please choose the button to the right to go to child 20 button master. And so I guess this here is, yeah, so this is the screen that the user would see. So that's not really that difficult to get to. Now, what is this down here? You've got, so My Home, Play, School, Daycare, and then you have Connect to the World, TV, Stereo, VCR, DVD, Computer, Lights, Environment Controls, all-in-one, and Teaching Tools. So, really, this could be used as a remote, I guess, for, yeah, family room TV, power on, power off, volume up, volume down, channel. Wow, that's pretty cool. So, oh, and yeah, like Nick Jr., you've got like actual station buttons here, Cartoon Network. And okay, so there was a keyboard built into this application itself. It's not like a full QWERTY keyboard. It is like alphabetized, and then you just have like two separate pages here. So you've got A through M and N through Z. But yeah, I'm still not over, where was it, in My World? Yeah, this, like, the ability to turn on the TV, I guess, you know, it must have an IR blaster somewhere in it for, you know, sending those signals out to the TV. What does this do? Oh, here we go. Setup. Okay, let's go to the setup menu. So you have shutdown controls in here because, again, this was the main software. So if you had this in the configuration where you weren't able to access, other Windows programs, at least easily, I'm sure there's ways you could get around it. This was how you would, go in and actually shut down the device. But you can change, okay, your like selection method. Let's go to tools here. IR browser. This is probably it. So yeah, you've got these are all the current ones that we already have. Cartoon Network. We can test that. Oh, no learning has been done for this command. So these aren't even set up. How about, okay, living room TV channel down. Really? Wonder if this is a common theme here. Let's TV volume up. No learning has been done for this command. How about my remote controls? Okay, so these are all your different devices in here. Then you've got create a new remote control. And so this is like, this thing acting like a universal remote. So you could go in and choose, like, if you have a CD player. Then we got to give it a name. So we could just call this, yeah, why not? Okay. And then we'll hit next. And then you would choose your manufacturer. Sure, we'll go with Hitachi. And then there's one possible code, find the right code, and then it just goes through like you're programming a universal remote. And then it says to aim the top of the DynaVox at the CD player, so I'm assuming that it's got the IR blaster built in up here. So, in fact, it was probably, I think that I know exactly where it was in here. I think that I saw it earlier. So that's a really nice feature. I was not expecting that whatsoever, but that definitely adds a whole level of convenience. There's a camera button, and this device does not have a camera built in, but there was one that DynaVox sold for it that you could get. And if you did, you could plug it in and, access the camera controls from here. So that's nice. You got an ebook reader, you got an MP3 player, a symbol browser, macro editor, reminder editor, address book, email and text messages. I'm just going around and saying stuff, but there's a ton of stuff in there. Also in here, it shows you your battery life, but we're just on AC power. And you've got, let's see, input-output settings. So you can calibrate the touchscreen, mouse settings. These are all like just system settings, pretty much. So yeah, this is all, at least these buttons up here, like for, setting up a printer, for calibrating the touchscreen. I guarantee you this is the same. Yep, this is that same program. You guys have not seen this yet, but on the desktop there is a shortcut to this exact same calibration tool. So yeah, that is the DynaVox software, at least a little brief tour of it. We'll head out of that if I can actually hit the X up here. Maybe. Come on.
Let me.
That was not intentional, but that's very appropriate. Why is it not letting me, I just thought that the touchscreen had like stopped responding. That's why I tried to just tap here, but what is it doing? Like, it's not, hello? Okay, well, we can exit it from here. So this is that touch calibration tool that we just saw. What is BoardMaker with SD Pro? BoardMaker with Speaking Dynamically Pro. Just at first glance, I think that this is going to let you, like, let's open up a template here. We've got a few of them in here, more than a few. How about activity pad templates? What do we got in here? Q&A. We'll open up this one. This is probably for making like a phrase board. Yeah, because you've got all these buttons here, and then you could just add like your own icons there. At least I think. What is this? There is this interactive sample board V6 down here. And so this is, yeah, that same software. Oh, this is just a shortcut, yeah, to like this is like an actual file that we open up with that program. So there's the one that I just created, or the template that I opened. And then here is BoardMaker Software Family version 6 sample boards. Okay, well, I've made a discovery. If you open up this interactive sample board V6 without the BoardMaker program running, it will open up in the like interactive mode, basically, where you can actually tap on the buttons and everything. So here it is. So these are the things that you'll be making in that program. And so they've just got a whole bunch of functions here. We can go into math maybe. And you've got like some games up here, Connect 4. You got shapes, like for, I assume just, yeah, like you're just answering, dragging these things to the right one. And you could also print these out too, just to, give to somebody if they didn't have one of these devices. But it does seem like it ideally would be, meant for use on a touchscreen device like this. So that's really cool. So you have all, that gives you a lot of customizability where you can actually just make these yourself. Now, why don't we just go into the start menu and see what else we have on here. So we'll start from the top. We've got your, standard Windows accessories. We have the DynaVox Series 5 software that we already explored. We've got all your Windows games here. Meyer Johnson is the board maker software. You also got like an updater in there. You've got Firefox. This actually came pre-installed with this system. It was listed on the website as like a pre-installed application. We might as well open it up and see what version it is. 3.0.8. Wow, that is old. What do we got in startup? Anything good? Okay, DynaVox system information, and yeah, there's McAfee on here. You saw it on the desktop probably right there. I think that's something that runs in the system tray, that DynaVox system information. No, don't change the date and time. Just go here. Come on, no. Okay, I've got to maybe recalibrate the touchscreen again. I think this is it running down here. So we tapped on the battery thing. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna plug in a mouse. This is getting ridiculous. Okay, so now we can make some more precise movements down here. So this right here is mouse selection options. So we can change the selection method and we already opened that up. So this is the DynaVox like properties panel for changing the backlight. You got battery. A lot of this stuff we saw in the Series 5 software, so this is like just the Windows interface for a lot of this stuff. You can also calibrate the touch panel from here. But we also have, I think it was, is it when we right-clicked on this? Maybe it was this. Yeah, we've got all these like shortcut options down here. So backlight, you can bring up, I guess it just brings up the DynaVox V properties panel every single time. Let's try like version. Yep, there's a version tab, selection method. Yep. So this is all just the tabs in here to get quick access to a particular setting in this program. It is so much nicer using the mouse. I mean, yeah, the touchscreen is cool, but I mean, it's using the mouse really helps when you're navigating around just regular Windows XP. So yeah, you've got Adobe Reader 8. You've got DynaVox backup software. DynaVox backup for Windows 95. Well, gee, that's a little outdated, don't you think? About box. Backup software, yeah, for Windows 95 version 2.1. All right, let's just try autoexec.bat. So we'll mark that, copy to another drive. So let's maybe just go into the Windows folder and then hit OK. And did that actually do anything? Oh, holy cow, we do. Yeah, because that was created September 29th, 2008 at 1:05 and 12 seconds a.m., which is what this is set to. That's the current date, and that was about a minute ago. And then we have remote support, which failed to start because the application configuration is incorrect. Reinstalling the application may fix this problem. Well, something tells me that we're long past the technical support window for this thing. And we also have the Hampshire T-Shark control panel, which is interesting because if you remember from the Lingraphica video, it also had a Hampshire T-Shark driver installed, that to make the touchscreen work properly. And we had to actually get a Windows version of that driver when we put Windows on. And apparently I just launched the touchscreen calibration here, so we'll just go through this again. And then we've got your standard Windows stuff, i.e. Outlook Express, Media Player, Movie Maker. You have AT&T Natural Voices 1.4. This is one of the like voice packs on here for when you have it, speak things back to you. And you have OpenOffice.org 3.0. This was an inclusion from the factory, from DynaVox. And then we do have Google Chrome as another web browser on here. Version 49. Yeah, that is quite old. So that's everything in the start menu. Now, what is this on the desktop? Adapted learning. Well, it had a Firefox icon, but it opened up with Internet Explorer. So I guess Internet Explorer is this is just a, web link. So I guess IE is still our default browser. And let's open up My Documents and see if we've got any files left on here. So we've got like a setup log file. We've got a couple PRF files. What do we have in downloads? Anything? Got some PDFs. Okay. Interesting. We've got a periodic table. And yep, that's a periodic table. Okay, well, I will have to blur some of this out because we've got a full name and an email address here. But this was a presentation that somebody put together for the ASHA annual conference in New Orleans, Louisiana on Friday, November 20th, 2009. And we also have a document labeled with a date of 2014. One thing we could do is just go into a search here, and we can just search for all files and folders. And oh yeah, I'm gonna have to plug in a keyboard. I probably should have done this before. All right, so we're just gonna do a search for star.star and have it pull up every file on the system if it will actually do the search. And the wizard found 41,362 files. And if we sort by date modified, the most recently modified file was, oh, look at that, 11/9/2020. So yeah, that's really surprising. I was not expecting this thing to have been used, at least somewhat, all the way up until 2020. Now, what do we have in the recycle bin? Oh, just autoexec.bat that I deleted from the Windows folder. So yeah, that looks like everything on this system. Just for the heck of it, why don't we go into my computer and go to properties and just see our specifications. So again, we do have just a Celeron M 800 megahertz, 0.99 or 1 gigabyte of RAM, and we're running XP Home Service Pack 3. So yeah, that is, like I said, everything on this computer. But you guys know the half-life rule on this channel. Yeah, we're going to try to get that running on here. So yeah, I mean, not surprisingly, it works totally fine. No issues whatsoever. We can, see no real frame drops or anything like that. Not surprising considering, how old this game is and the age of this hardware. But, the fun thing is, of course, we can just frickin' tap on the touchscreen and just do really stupid stuff. And again, the game is unplayable with the touchscreen. It's not like you're going to have really any fun doing this, but you can do it. You can technically move around with the touchscreen. But yeah, having a keyboard and mouse just really helps things. So yeah, I mean, I'm thinking really I should start saving the half-life rule for like systems that just barely meet the system requirements for the game. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, oh hey, it's a game that runs on this system that can run on it just fine because the specs far exceed the minimum system requirements. I don't know, I'll have to maybe tool with that a little bit. But there you have it. That is the DynaVox Max, or Vmax. I keep wanting to call it the DynaVox Max, but that is a V there. The DynaVox Vmax. I got to give a huge thank you again to Dan and Ryan for sending this and, like I said, a couple of other things. That really awesome Clippy 3D printed desk toy thing, as well as another touchscreen computer that I'll be making a video on at some point. So thank you guys very much once again, and thank you to all of you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this one, be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early access to these videos before anybody else. But either way, as always, I will see you all in the next video.